We want to present our phone guest in just a few minutes. First of all, her book is out now. It was pressed. It was the first printing this year. The Peason Hall Press. It was printed on all recycled paper, which is awesome. The book is called Reflection. Nearly 500 pages. It is a awesome book available at Barnes & Noble online, Walmart online, Amazon, if you're looking for the book. I would like to introduce my guest. We're going to do this a little differently than normal, so have a little patience with me, folks. Lynette, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Awesome. I think I can hear you pretty good, too. So you're in upstate New York area, I take it.
Right.
Awesome. We were just discussing the weather up there and how it's similar to where I'm from in Illinois, about snow and all that good stuff. Thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, you know how time is.
I do. It's very fleeting.
You want to invest it where it's due.
Exactly, yeah. Our time is so valuable. That's the thing. It's like money to me, you know? Money's not valuable, but time is. We were talking about your new book, and the cover design was by yourself and Red Wolf. First of all, the cover's awesome. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of like eye candy. Nice, pleasing colors. And then the book itself, you spent like 40 years with the concept in mind. Is that correct?
Not just the concept. People have asked me, how is it that I remembered everything? And it's not that I remembered. I started the book in 1970. And
wow.
As a matter of fact, a resident of Oregon, Kathy, I think she was still a Barton or a Gillies. You know how people's names change. But
yes.
She and I started it in a rented, rundown hotel room in Los Angeles. And kind of life got in the way. We were attending trials in Los Angeles, and so through the years, I wrote down notes, lots of notes, and I put some of them together. I wrote a lot of stories, and at the time, I didn't know how to assemble them, but pretty soon it came to me that this is not a book that was written for anyone else, but it was written for people like me who enjoy a historical trip through both age and experience. And there was so much written about our cases that was false and confused, and I wasn't able to respond to it in a timely way because nobody wants to hear that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear this isn't true or any kind of protest. So I decided to write what was true, and that's according to me. And my personal experience.
And Lynn, I remember you telling me that you had talked to some major book publishers, and you said one of them even told you that you would actually sell more if you were to lie. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, every buddy that I talked to who had written a book gave the excuse that the publisher or the editors wanted more sex, and it was distorted sex. I mean, the things that were written about Charlie were not true, and but it was what they said. It was what people wanted to read. I didn't want anything to do with those people who capitulated, and I didn't want a major publisher to do this book because I understood that that was part of their agenda.
Yeah, completely.
So I have a small publisher they're people that I know and I trust, and we put it together. Well, it was done in a hurry, the last of it, because my publishers said that they wanted it now and that they weren't willing to wait longer. My own take on it was that I wrote from the heart what I experienced, and I wanted to leave it behind. I'm almost 70. I'm going to be 70 in a couple of weeks. It's not ancient, but you feel and understand the process of getting older, and you understand how vulnerable you are, and you understand mortality much more as you get older. It's not something young people want to hear about, but and it also is pretty much a trip. The whole thing.
It is.
They say youth is wasted on the young.
And you're right. Young people don't want to hear about it. I was just telling someone young today that certain things come with age, with wisdom. Wisdom is different from intelligence. And as we grow older, we come to a more clear realization that life is fleeting, and we think about those things. And that's what comes with, I guess, growing older.
It does. And I don't, the pitfalls teach you that you have to use it, meaning the body. You have to use it or lose it.
Absolutely.
And so you make your choices, and you do the best for yourself that you can. And on the way, you enjoy as much of life as you can. So,
well,
saying I wanted to leave this behind. So much has been said about us that was false. And I thought, I was so naive. I thought that if the man in the tweed suit and the British accent was telling us something about his publication and his intentions, that it was going to be true. And it was silly because, for example, the first person who published a story that I gave him, he changed all of the references to children to drugs.
Oh, geez.
And I was quoting the Beatles saying, they will take us back where we came from. And he said that was drugs. So,
wow.
That's a pretty big stretch there.
It's a big stretch. So these things were awesome, and not in a good way. And at the time, we had no way to counter them.
Yeah.
So all I could do is take notes.
Well, and
then
we're grateful that you did, because the book,
okay.
I mean, at least that way, it sets kind of puts your story out there, and can maybe set some things straight for some people.
Well, in one way I hope so. In another, somebody who has the sensibilities, somebody who has the intelligence, or the same kind that I do. Everybody's got different types of intelligence. But, they may understand it and grasp it in a different way than the general public as we know it.
Yeah. Well, we all perceive things in different ways. I guess, truth can be something different to everyone, but, you know what I mean? They always say there's 3 sides to every story, so I think it's important that, that we still have the freedom to be able to do things like write books and have community radio, so that we can get all the points of view out there, because gosh knows in the media, mainstream media, we are usually given basically the same story by all of them.
I was wondering if they didn't just recycle stories from the past.
Well, it seems that way sometimes.
It does.
Kind of like the book 1984. When you read that book, that's what that guy's job was, to like continually shred the past and recycle and make up the future as he went. It was just kind of like how society has become, man,
Exactly. So whatever it is that they're pushing at the time, that's what we get. Some of it is interesting. I watch the news. Every night I watch the nightly news. Every once in a while I watch other news. I see what people are interested in. It's not my preference in most cases. I don't have a penchant for disaster and murder and all of that, but I understand that that's thrilling and frightening, and that fear and thrills attach themselves some way in some psychology, in some people's minds, and that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, therefore it sells, just like in the movies. I mean, sex sells, and they throw things in. You can watch a so-called biopic, and it's like, well, how much of this is true biography, and how much of this is made up? And sex sells, so that's what they push, is the negative stuff, the sex, the violence, and that kind of thing.
Right. Or whatever. Sex to me is expression, and whatever type of expression that they see in sexual contact is, some of it is bizarre to me, but it's whatever it is what people want or what they're curious about. So, it's a big machine. Now, what surprised me was going online. I haven't been allowed to go online, but my friend here has an iPhone, and I would tap in things. I want to know the origin of a word or an expression, some simple thing, and all these other things were popping up. At first, I didn't know how to negotiate through all of that. I'm getting it down, but I think it's just a minefield. I think it's terrible how it's been allowed to be used for that kind of commercial sale.
The internet is it's a rabbit hole, if you will. There's so much. It could be used for so much good. There's so much information, but at the same time, as we learned through our election process that made the news, it's also used for a lot of misinformation, unfortunately.
Right. The sales is what bothers me the most. I don't automatically accept other people's opinions about politics or anything else. And I know that the main concern is the condition of our water, the ocean, the air, things that are primary to our survival.
Things that matter.
And the survival of the next generations. But
I must do a legal ID real quick. Sorry to interrupt. I really apologize. You are listening to KSKQ 89.5 FM, Ashland, Oregon, and KSKQ translator K231 CW 94.1 FM, Medford, Oregon. We are talking with author Lynette Fromme. Thanks again for being here, Lynette, and sorry to interrupt.
And thank you for pronouncing my name right.
I never hear anybody say your name right, and it is Fromme, like foam with an R and me, right?
Exactly.
Cool.
What type of name is that, by the way? What? is
It is German.
it's a German? I thought so, but I wasn't positive. I wanted to ask.
It is German, and I think the original meaning had to do with pious, which then became a sense of arrogance, and the word pious used to mean devout,
Okay.
religious,
Yes.
that kind of thing, and then it became something else. I like the origins because you can see how words change throughout history, and then you get an idea of what the the politics were at the time, how people evolved like that.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Just interesting to me.
I was thinking the other day, and I want to talk more about your book, of course. One thing I was pondering when thinking about you, one thing that you for sure are, and, a lot of people try to project, so many things onto you and projecting so much that's not even true, and I'm sure you're used to that. But one thing that you are is misunderstood. That's what I think you are. You're misunderstood so much. Like, so many people seem to see you through the eyes of their own ignorance to me. And then they build a story or a book or movie based on that, how they see that through their eyes, which is ignorance, in the name of money. And so, yeah, to me, you're just one of the most misunderstood figures in history that I know of.
Well, I think a lot of that stems from, like we said, like the media. That's kind of the one-sided story that is pushed upon people. So,
yeah.
But yes, misunderstood for sure.
Yeah, well, like I said, there was no way to correct that. Now, even online, we could have, like if the internet had been present at the time we were being talked about, we could have said some things online, but this is something where people have grasped an idea of the world, let's say, and the people in it, and they have ideas about anybody, including all the celebrities, all the people you hear about. I even catch myself saying, gee, I wonder if that's true. That's an important question. Gee, I wonder if that's true. If it's important to you, it's worth checking out. Is it true? Not true? Is it important what other people are thinking and doing? Are you living your life through a celebrity? Are you hoping your life will evolve and become, like somebody else? Or are you taking your moments as they come and appreciating your gifts and the things that you have, and making the most of them? And are you looking at the future? Are you looking? There's a certain responsibility we have. Living in the moment is and was always a luxury to the people I knew. We were able to unburden ourselves from a lot of the past and live as we took in the moments, and we were able to see the burdens of other people. But there is a responsibility. Can we write it off? Can we dance along and be happy and forget about any kind of responsibility of all? Of course not. There's the next generation.
Yes.
Well,
And
I think,
what are they getting?
yeah, and I think you make a good point that if you care enough to find out what the truth is about something, I think people are often afraid of that, because with the truth comes responsibility, and with responsibility comes you either act on that or you don't act. And if there's some cognitive dissonance, I think, that happens with people, because they don't want to know the truth, because they know with the truth comes action or not doing something about it. And
Exactly.
they feel maybe guilt or cognitive dissonance. I don't know, something. that causes them to not
doing
act.
something may not be the key. It may be a deep understanding of the world in its current condition and knowing that whatever change has to come is a result of the past, what's been done, what people are thinking, what people are eating and consuming and throwing away.
Yes.
And, so it's a responsibility that carries weight, and it's not comfortable. But at the same time, it gives you that sense of being a real human. As a real human, we care about these things. We respond to them. We talk about them when they're brought up. I want something that you can use to carry things that is not a plastic bag.
Right. Right.
I want something that will recycle. I want everything that we use to be able to be recycled because we don't get more of it, and the ocean. I feel like as a feeling person, I understand the ocean has done all these great things for us. It absorbs the vibrations of the world.
Yeah.
It also...
And we've made it our personal garbage dump, pretty much.
Exactly.
It's a shame. It is.
Exactly. So I want that to be recognized, and I want us... I know the kids are working on it. I know young people who realize this are saying, what the heck? We need an ocean that functions as it was designed to.
Amen.
That it takes away the pollutants, and it gives us the food and all the things that we need. We need the air to be able to handle and circulate and dissolve all the pollutants that we put in it. No, I mean, politically, when I think of politics, that's the last thing that's important to me. That's people. People are the least important because people need to understand that without the earth, there's nowhere to stand. There's nowhere to receive a good life. Doesn't matter how much you get, how much money you make. It's going to be a real tough time if we don't take care of the land and the water and the air.
Well, and it's like so many Native American tribes remind us that water is life, and you can't drink oil. And,
Exactly.
We've learned a lot about that in the past couple of years with so much, here where we live, there's a lot of activism going on with regards to, oil pipelines, wanting to run them underneath the rivers and export or import or whatever it is they want to do at that moment. But water is life, and if we don't quit messing around with it, we're going to be in a lot of trouble very soon, I'm afraid.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. So, on one hand, we've got this burden to deal with. On the other hand, we have an attitude of appreciation for the things that we have and for these unbelievably beautiful creatures that are on Earth. Everything from these interesting birds and everything, the insects, everything. What we're going to be dealing with is the microbes, the very tiny or invisible things like viruses and so forth. And it's our own doing. But I believe it can be seen and understood and taken care of as long as it's not treated as another problem for pharmaceutical companies to assuage.
Yeah.
As long as we're not offered more medicines and other things that they could sell us.
Yeah, exactly.
To take care of it. We want to take care of it on the ground level. We want to take care of it by having some respect for how the earth works, and because it's amazing, you know.
It is.
And taking our medicine from the earth, especially the cannabis plant. It's all the leading research in Israel is showing that it not only fights cancer, but it can beat cancer. And they don't want that known here in the States because it will stop funding big pharma at that point. And then by God, they might cure the opiate addiction that they also fund. So,
Yeah.
Funny how that works. Funny how that works.
if you're just
now, back in the 70s or back in the 60s, we had seen this stuff. We'd seen the damage, but everybody had, and we thought there was going to be an upheaval, and that people were going to say, "Okay, that's enough. That's enough."
You tried.
The people of all races were upset. They knew these things, and they were also concerned about the way that they were being treated as people. So, I mean, the different races of people felt shortchanged. Somehow, the manufacturers and the people who put out thought grabbed these people, convinced them to be spokespersons, and then you had the Forest Defense League or whatever that is. And I would find out, I would look into a group, and I'd find out it was funded by the lumber companies.
Wow.
And then I'd look into another group and find out it was funded by, big pharmaceuticals.
Exactly. So many of the studies that you read are published or paid for by people like that who have an ulterior motive.
Right.
If you're just tuning in, we are... One second, please. We are talking with Lynette Fromme right now. Her new book is called Reflection. You are listening to KSKQ, Ashland, Medford, Oregon. Thanks for being here. Again, it's Lynette Fromme. The book is Reflection, available at Barnes & Noble online, Walmart online, Amazon.
And yes, KSKQ recognizes the nonprofit community support of the Klamath-Siskiyou Wildland Center. As a voice for wild nature, KS Wild's mission is focused on protecting public lands in the Klamath-Siskiyou region of Southwest Oregon and Northwest California. Community support for KS Wild helps ensure a legacy of wild rivers, ancient forests, and biodiversity. Learn more about KS Wild's wildlife and forest conservation programs and efforts to restore public lands at www.kswild.org. KSKQ thanks KS Wild and listeners like you for supporting community radio.
Thank you, Sister Tracy. We are joined by Lynette Fromme. Happy to have her here with her new book, Reflection. It's a really good book. It's really a positive book, reflecting on the years 1967 through 1969. And it really put me in a good spot. When I was reading it, it was relaxing. There was a lot of moments where I was just surprised at the good energy that you were able to express through this book. So good job. I mean, it was really nice.
Thank you. Well, it's memory. It's really a luxury to go back there because it was a time of people opening up and having so few judgments about each other, that we could focus on other things. And I know for myself that it allowed me to get off of myself. I was so critical of myself and everything about me. And I subsequently met young women who they were beautiful, but something was always wrong with them, according to them. So I really felt like we had been boxed into some kind of negative programming, and
Yes.
I wanted to see all of us as energetic elves, more or less, for the helpfulness to anywhere we were. Where we used to go, we would try to make it better than whatever it was when we got there. We would any environment, we would clean it up and fix up the buildings, and it was a lot of fun. And I think most people were having a lot of fun at that time. You live in an area that is so progressive. I don't know if it's progressive. That has connotations now, meaning political connotations. But I didn't see politics there. I saw people who had energy and a place to put it, and they were making everywhere they went better than it was when they got there.
Yeah, people
Yes.
in action can be a beautiful thing when that action is, in the right direction. People in action.
Right.
And Wavy Gravy has been on the show many times, and he would tell us that when his group, the Hog Farm, used to travel around, if they got a flat tire, he would have a lemonade stand or something. He would always make the best out of every negative situation, and it was.
I know. I heard that about him. I never met him. I met some of the people that were at the Hog Farm, but just briefly. But I had heard about him that the police would stop them and he would engage them in different conversations, and their minds were probably blown. These are people who have transcended so much of the negativity in the world that they manage to imbue upon whoever comes in front of them a positive outlook.
Have you had a chance to see the Wavy Gravy film called Saint Misbehavin'?
No.
Yeah, it came out a couple of years ago, and it's really a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. Just a fantastic film. Again, Saint Misbehavin'. You would really like it. It's about his entire story with direct footage from India, and it's great.
I'll keep it in mind. I was wondering why people had to go overseas, to India, for example, to deal with what was going on here, and why the Hindus were coming over here.
Well,
I guess they were invited.
I think we didn't have any God consciousness here. We had money, but they had God consciousness there, and they had faith, and we had none. So some of the white folks, like Bhagavan Das, was one of the first people to actually go there. And when the Babas and the Himalayas and the folks in Tibet, the Buddhists up there, they had never even seen a white man until Bhagavan Das came, stumbling, looking for something higher frequency. And I think it's because they had faith there and God. And then a lot of the folks there saw that we had cars and, houses and air conditioning, things like that, and they wanted that. So it's strange, but the Western...
There was an exchange, exactly.
Yeah.
I just wonder, are the people that partook of that exchange in India and those places, are they better off now? Are the people in Africa better off? Have they made a transition into the kind of life that we have here, or has there been difficulty about that?
Good question.
And I think, maybe progress sometimes means different things at different times to different people, because I don't know if maybe, technology and the things you just mentioned, like cars and, those sorts of things, if that's really considered, progressing. As far as, I think, the United States receiving that, those wisdoms from India, places like that Bhagavan Das and Ram Das and people like that are responsible to bringing here. I'd like to think that we are better off for that. I think we might have gotten the better end of that deal as far as that goes. Right.
No, but that's what I wonder. Was there an even exchange there? Are we now in touch with the people all over the world with these changes? Do we know how they're dealing, and do they have to go through the same changes that we went through with acquiring, and then all of a sudden realizing that we had much more than we ever needed, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
I don't know if they have to go through all that, and if they do, I hope it happens, more rapidly than it happened with us.
Yeah, I feel like somehow or another we're reaching our apex, our I don't know about apex is the right word, but we're reaching a point where we're realizing here that, and it's a good thing that materialism and perhaps, capitalism isn't all it's cut out to be.
A certain amount. I mean,
right, a certain amount. But I'm not sure we haven't reached that point.
Balance. I mean, the balance is what the key is. Charlie always had a nice balance. He saw what was, beneficial, and then what made us weak. What made him weak. So, whereas flush toilets were a nice thing, what's the payment on the other side of that? How much do we need to do or not do in order to keep that balance? I like that.
Yeah.
So, it's such a, it's a personal preference. People in this country I feel like people in this country are really spoiled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, because I know I am. I can judge by, being somewhat soft and expecting to have help with things, expecting more sometimes than is necessary. And we have unlimited quantities. You can go to the market and get anything from any part of the world now. So, while people think that's wonderful, is it based upon what is good for other people? Is it really good for us? This ordering from the market and having something delivered to you, that's what they do a lot up here. You now have things, I don't, but you can have things delivered to you, your food.
Everything.
You can have somebody shop for you. Now, all the trucks and vehicles that are bringing these things are using the gas and the oil, and and they're on the roads, clogging up the roads. I just wonder, is that really good for us?
Well, yeah, and the things that we lose in the process of those things. Like you said, at what cost is it a fair trade? I know so many young people today, as knowledgeable as they are about a lot of things, the internet, and but a lot of things that they're losing in the process of depending on technology.
Right.
Even the ability to interact with a human being one-on-one is compromised, I think, because of texting and cell phones.
Yeah, but of course they don't want to hear it. But
oh no.
Where you guys have a very wonderful forum is, besides having people talk about things on your show, you have the music, and kids always are attracted to music. I wondered what happened to MTV. I had seen, when I was in prison, I saw videos. I saw Paul McCartney video. I saw just different videos, and I loved the music, and the videos completely attracted me. Even the ones that I thought were peculiar or didn't give
yes.
a positive message. Some of them, that take you into depression or suicide or whatever it is. I thought, well, at least they are putting out the music that people are listening to.
Yeah.
But then I tried to get it here, and I couldn't
It's totally
find
changed.
it.
Yeah.
I remember back in either 87 or 89, I had asked you what bands you liked, and you said you liked the band Great White.
Well, we had a friend in prison whose brother was in Great White.
Ah.
And that's probably why I said that.
They were
I have only heard one of their songs.
Well, they were the first band I've ever interviewed on the radio in my career was Great White. They came in and played live on my show.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
and of course I was aware of the really terrible fire in Rhode Island.
Oh,
yes,
sad.
Tragedy.
That was really
I
sad.
had a friend who was involved in that. I have possibly a memory from another time in history where I was in a fire, because anytime I'm in a place where there are crowds of people, the first thing I do is I see where I would go if I needed to get out.
Yeah.
So
could very well be.
I can't even. Yeah, it's one of those things that's just. It's not quite haunting, but it's a necessity for me.
Yeah, I have a thing like that about water and drowning. So I often wonder the same thing, if maybe I have some fear left over.
Deepak Chopra says that anything you're afraid of is something you already went through.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't thought through that a lot, but there are so many people that have come to understandings that are valuable to the rest of us, and I just enjoy looking at these different sayings and things. I haven't read people's books, but I do like that. I read Siddhartha when I was on this road trip with Charlie and Mary and some of us, and it was an eye opener. It was something that set me back, made me understand that there's so much more to the world than I was looking at, and that's what I wanted. I knew there was more to it. My parents were just trudging through life, and I thought it can't be like this.
No, this can't be all there is.
there's magic in the world. There's love in the world. There's interesting things to find out.
And
So, yeah.
Ram Dass, he says if we're silent long enough that everyone's the guru or the teacher.
Yeah. No, yeah, I believe that. I do believe that. So, I will probably end up doing some reading, and as I get older, I would love to sit on a porch and watch birds and so forth, and have some cannabis when I don't feel like I'm going to be tested to find out if I've engaged in this illicit behavior. Back then, even, it was like we weren't doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
For the longest time, we were not doing anything wrong, but everybody was an outlaw. Everybody who used marijuana was an outlaw.
And, we slowly are seeing that change. I think that's starting to come about, but it sure does seem to be taking, politics, different politicians get in and things change. But, I think some of the states are starting to act on their own, and hopefully the propaganda and misinformation about cannabis is slowly leaving us with, a greater knowledge and understanding of the true research about it as that comes to light, hopefully.
About that and
so many things.
So many things that are in nature that we can use to our benefit. So many ways in nature that we can watch and take lessons from so that we can benefit from them instead of trying to kill it all.
Yes.
Amen.
It is just, it brings me to tears a lot of times to understand that people are so afraid of nature that they want to destroy it. And I point out some things in the book. I wanted to be true to the times and not put too much of my understandings now in those times. So I kept it brief, but I hope that it can be seen along the way on this journey.
Well said. I need to say thank you to my sponsor. Diana's Records in Ashland, Oregon is proud to support KSKQ Community Radio. Diana's Records, formerly CD or not CD, has been located in Ashland since 1986. Diana's offers a selection of new and used LPs, CDs and cassettes, and music and movies on DVD. You'll also discover an array of rock, math, and science t-shirts, record players, posters, mugs, and much more. Diana's Records is open 7 days a week at 343 East Main Street in downtown Ashland. For more info, call 541-488-0066. KSKQ thanks Diana's Records and listeners like you for supporting community radio. I am Reverend Moody with Sister Tracy and our guest Lynette Fromme discussing life and her new book, Reflection. And Lynette, a couple people had sent me emails recently here asking a couple of questions I wonder if I could ask you.
Sure.
One of them is, we were talking about the hog farm earlier, and somebody wanted to know if you ever had any contact with the people from the Source family on Sunset Boulevard back in the day.
No, it's not familiar. If the people...
Father Yod.
If we ran into the people, it would have been unattached to that name.
Okay, and the other one was, someone said, did you ever meet the Lyman family, Mel Lyman?
I did.
You did, okay.
I did meet the Lyman family. I never met Mel Lyman. I think he was in Massachusetts or somewhere like that, but I did.
Yeah, interesting. I saw that he was on the cover of Rolling Stone back in the day. Mel Lyman.
Well, it was an interesting group, pretty intense, I don't want to get into it right now, but
Yeah.
yes, I did meet them.
Okay.
And I don't know what happened to all of them. I heard that one of the men who was in the movie Zabriskie Point, he was a star of that movie. I heard that he went to prison and was found dead under a barbell.
Whoa.
I do not know if that's true. I don't know if they got him out. You wonder. But no, I didn't know them well.
Okay.
But I met them.
What is?
One thing I wanted to say was
Sure.
there is a picture of Manson where he looks wild-eyed, and that's what you look like in the picture you sent me of you, Derek. And I wanted to tell you that picture was taken in a police station in Ventura, California, and it was after we had been rousted out of the woods and told we were trespassing when there were no signs. We had taken a bus into the woods, and the police came, a lot of them, and we were sitting on the dirt in front of the police cars. There were about 4 of them, and they were going through our IDs, and we were petting their dogs, and they got a little bit mad about that.
Oh, I bet.
They said, heel, and the dogs, right away they went to the guys, but
weren't you tripping?
That arrest, it only lasted overnight. We were released the next day, but that arrest resulted in some people taking a small handful of acid because nobody wanted to be picked up with it, and that picture came out of that. To me, it's funny.
Right.
Like everywhere at the same time, but it, is shown as the Svengali that, hypnotized all these people. Let me see what else.
The brainwashed do not know they are brainwashed.
Right. Well, that's what they say. Who knows?
Right.
I feel like we were brainwashed before. It was through nobody's fault. Our parents thought that they didn't know they were brainwashed.
Nope.
A lot of them, they had the opportunity to see different things, but they were so focused on making money and making it in the world that they couldn't see all the things that their kids were seeing. And we were saying, like, whoa, we don't want to be like you. And we had that, just that juicy, vibrant energy of kids that wants to discover the world that we have, and they felt that they had enough of the world because they had just been through 2 world wars. You know what I mean?
Yes, and they had no blueprint when they became parents. No one gave anybody like an instruction manual, like here's how you raise this kid healthily, So everyone kind of worked with what they had, man. Really.
Exactly. So we realized that they didn't know, but at the same time, we couldn't hang back with them. We had to keep going.
Sure.
And I think my father, who never would speak to me afterward, or even before, he didn't speak to me very much, but I think that he secretly admired me for going out and doing things that he didn't have he just couldn't do himself because he was so busy trying to make it in the world of,
Yeah.
you know,
The American
of,
American dream.
Yeah.
success for his parents.
Yeah.
Now, there was one other thing I wanted to tell you, and I have to remember what it is. Gosh.
I hope you remember.
Now I'm intrigued now.
You're teasing me.
It's not that important, I guess. It's just about misconceptions.
Oh, okay.
But whatever it is, I don't have it with me.
Maybe
right
it'll
this
come to
second.
you.
Now, I want to ask you this. Are you okay to keep talking, or do you want to wrap this up? I don't want to keep you longer than you want to talk to me, and you know what I mean? I want it to be comfortable.
Well, the same for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk and talk and talk for longer than you want to
Well, you'd
have me on.
you'd certainly be welcome on this show anytime you'd like. And of course, I have another hour and 15 minutes, so there's no pressure or anything. But I wanted to ask what
No,
you.
play some music for them. Oh, there is one thing that comes to mind right away. Led Zeppelin.
I got Jimmy
There's
Page.
a story that circulated, and when I looked myself up on Wikipedia to see just exactly what was out there, a lot of it is wrong, but this one thing, I thought, who the heck is this? Some woman apparently approached Led Zeppelin in the 70s, I guess,
Yeah.
and was trying to warn them that something
Yes.
dire was happening. No, this road manager maybe says that it happened. It was in a Led Zeppelin book. These things, that didn't happen with me.
Wow.
I wasn't that person.
Ah.
The same thing occurred with Mike Love of the Beach Boys put out a book. I think partly it was the editors who suggested that it was me. Like what they maybe the person, maybe Mike Love said someone came to him in a shower and wanted to get in the shower with him. Not me. I don't even remember. Mike Love and Dennis Wilson were not close friends. They didn't. I think there was some animosity there. We didn't see him at all.
Interesting. I had heard about that tension between those guys, you know.
Well, I don't know anything about it. All I know is that wasn't me, and he said it, that I came to his shower. And then, these things are said. I think what it is a person will say, these two women did such and such. And then the editor will say, well, it could have been,
Yeah.
it could have, because my name was out there. I had approached the president, and, they figure, it doesn't matter. Well, to me it mattered because
sure.
it wasn't me, and, So anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
Do you still have the red robe?
What's that?
Do you still have your red robe?
Oh, no.
Gone.
No, the robes, everything. When we went to prison, I got to keep a lot of my notes. But as the years went by, the rules got stricter.
Ah.
And even though I wasn't part of the problem, and the problem, according to the prison system, was that they had too many women keeping too much stuff.
Ah.
And I know of one guy, associate warden told us, if you can keep it in the locker, you can have it. And I know I could, but there were a lot of women who didn't care, and they had stuff all over their rooms. And so they said no. So they started restricting everything we had. And a woman who I spent a lot of time with, Helen Woodson, she's was a peace activist. She's a remarkable person, and she helped me type everything out on 2 sides of pages. They told us we could have 25 pieces of paper, meaning letters.
Sure.
That kind of thing. So we constantly were shifting and adjusting to accommodate
The
their
restrictions.
new rules.
Yeah. That must have been kind of taxing at times, because I'm sure, like, if you're like me, when you're writing and stuff is flowing out of you and you're remembering something, you want to keep going, you know?
Exactly. But it's not just that. I had writings from, and they're in the book, a lot of them, from 5 or 6 different people. And I had to keep those, but I couldn't keep them as letters. So I had to retype them all. It was challenging.
Wow.
And I sent out a big packet of letters one time, a big packet of information and writings. I wrote a whole long piece about living on the corner in Los Angeles. It was interesting. I mean, I know I was interested living there. We lived on the street corner. Anyway, what I got back was a plastic bag and a piece of the envelope, and the post office said, "This is all we were able to find."
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, they said they lost it all. It wasn't their fault. It was that it wasn't secured properly. We had to send out our mail open, and we had, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I will say it's been a real honor to talk with you, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you because we have a lot in common philosophically, and it's really cool that you chose our show to come on, and we understand that you've been offered large amounts of money to go on, like I won't say bad words, but the media, which you really can't trust, and we really understand that's probably a big decision on your part. So thank you so much for talking with us. So we really appreciate it.
Much gratitude for that.
Okay, sorry I was so long-winded.
Oh, are you kidding? I love listening to you talk. There's no sorry. It's okay.
Not at all.
Okay, all right. Talk to you another time.
Okay,
Thank you.
Lynette Fromme, we send you our blessings, and thanks once again for your time.